Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. We're going live from New York City, Midtown, Hell's Kitchen in the house. What up? Before I introduce my guest today, I'm going to read the message of the week. And it is, in a world of algorithms, hashtags, and followers, know the true importance of human connection.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep.
It's deep. I mean, they're not always deep. That one's a little deep. I went deep today. I think the content today is going to be a little deep, but I wanted to talk specifically about connection and connectivity. It's funny because the web part of the entrepreneurial web has to do with that. It represents a couple of things. Sam and I talked about this when we were first putting the concept together for the show, but part of it is getting stuck in the web. You know, when you get into this thing, when you're chasing your dreams, you know, sometimes it feels like quicksand and you're stuck. So you feel like the fly in the spider web. And then other times you feel like the spider because you're going after it. You're like, I got something, I'm going to get it. But then the other part of it is just like all the ways, the threads that kind of just run through the ethos and the environment. And I think that's very pertinent to what we'll end up discussing today. So I would like to start by welcoming my guest, Lisa, but also kicking this off is the premiere of what I'm calling the LinkedIn guest series. Because I'm starting to make a lot of connections through LinkedIn. For those of you not familiar with the platform, it's essentially Facebook for business, right? It started as like a resume platform. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, please do not compare it to Facebook.
Well,
I hate Facebook.
No, I know, but its user ability is very similar to Facebook. But it started as like resume and job finding platform. And I remember getting like all these invitations maybe like 8 to 10 years ago. And I was like, I ain't got time for this. What is this? And then just like when I started the show, that's when I was like, okay, maybe I should use LinkedIn. Maybe I should like give this a try. So I've only been on the platform about 6 months, but it's been really great. And you were one of the first people. This whole thing essentially started, I think, in the comments of a post, right? It was just like good banter and conversation, and something came up about the show. But now, since then, maybe like 4 or 5 people from LinkedIn have said, oh, good. Can I come on your show? So I'm like, all right, let's do a LinkedIn guest series. So Lisa actually traveled to come to this show. No, I'm kidding. She came to New York, but she doesn't live here. But it's often people coming from out of town, which I think is exciting. It's fun. And just
it is the melting pot.
Spreading the wings. Yeah, no, most people are like, oh, I get to go to New York. It's not like we're in the armpit of New Jersey or anything like that. But yeah, so this is the first of the LinkedIn guest series. So I'm honored. With that, I'm going to introduce my guest, Lisa Gus. Lisa, say hello.
Well, hello, and thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be the first. So like a guinea pig.
Every show's a guinea pig for me. Yeah. So tell people, what's up, Rob? I'm just say hi to somebody real quick. What's happening, Rob Merritt? How you doing, brother? What's up? So tell people a little bit about yourself. Where you from? Where you live now?
Well, I am someone who actually has a teen ear. Now, I came to the United States 27 years ago, and everyone's still asking where I'm from. Now, if you lived in Kentucky, as I have for most of my time, if you answer Uzbekistan, the very first question they will ask is, so is it really cold in there? As it turns out, no, it's not cold in there. In fact, it's very close to Afghanistan, so you get this desert air, and it's really beautiful, and I love the summers. I came to the U.S. when I was 12, and we came to live in Kentucky, so I got to learn all about horses, and I also got to learn that we have second worst education system in the country.
Oh, Kentucky does?
Yes. So
somehow I'm not surprised by that.
But they do have the best mead.
I thought you were going to say bourbon.
Oh, but actually, it's actually bourbon mead.
Yeah, bourbon mead.
You know,
the two go hand in hand. They're great.
I'm not actually being paid, but if you're ever on Buxton Road in Cumberland Brewery, go there.
It's funny. So I'm actually from Nashville. That's where I was born, and I lived there until I was about 10. So I'm familiar with the region and education system.
It sucks.
There's a reason why we left.
Exactly. There is a reason why we left, and it's actually the birth of my son.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this girl living next door to us, and you could tell she's bright. You know, this kind of like really bright, the one that should go places. Yeah. She was 8, and she did not know that the Earth went around the sun. And she couldn't actually write her name either, only print.
Yeah.
And so I'm asking, like, what's going on? But she's like, well, this is what they're teaching us in school.
Yeah.
And so having been actually fortunate enough to be in the Soviet education system, which is one good thing I can speak about Soviet, well, I guess Soviet lifestyle.
Yeah.
I actually did not want that to happen to my son.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up in sort of a neighborhood of DC, like 20 minutes away, Northern Virginia, Great Falls. So welcome. I will take you to the Great Falls Park.
Great Falls. That's the name of it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, that's literally the falls, the waterfalls.
Mhm.
You know, I was actually, I think it's in Tennessee, or is it in Kentucky, the Cumberland Falls? Yeah,
I
it's
don't
in
know.
Kentucky. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's supposed to be the biggest in the US. I personally prefer the Great Falls one. They're gorgeous. And if you're into kayaking, that's where you would
Bigger
go.
than Niagara Falls?
I think it's probably a little too dangerous. And but the Niagara Falls is probably more on the Canadian side.
Yeah,
so maybe
the
that's
the
why.
big part of it is. I went to
Yeah.
school in Buffalo, so we used to go hang out there a lot. That's
Oh,
right
I
there.
would love to go to Buffalo. It's like I never got to see
Do you?
snow. Snow. I want the snow. I never got to see it.
Yeah, but go to like Colorado. Buffalo is like dirty snow, and Buffalo's an old industrial city, and it's not pretty. The snow is not pretty. You know, if you get outside, especially in the southern tier
Mhm.
portion of New York, it's pretty there. But I think if you really want to see great snow, you have to go out west, or like, up to Lake Placid. That's nice. Buffalo is just like freezing cold, just like so bone piercing cold. And there's snow, but then they just plow it all, and then the smut from the cars in the city
Ah.
get all over it, and it's like it's pretty for like an hour, and then it's quickly like brown and not pretty, and then you're just cold and annoyed.
Oh, yeah. No,
I couldn't
thanks.
wait to get out of Buffalo. I went there to school and was like, no, get me out of here. So moved straight to New York.
Well, so we're actually still there, but it's a good thing for us because we get to be right close to the seat of government.
Yeah.
And
So
as-
what brought you to that area, to DC?
Oh, well, mostly, like I said, for my son, it's like the best education
Yeah.
system.
Mm.
So we had to be there for him. And so that's why we moved. We ended up having 2 more kids. They're all going crazy. And I think they probably don't care about the education system any more closer than we do. But, they get to take advantage of it. And actually, that's kind of the sad part. There is the best high school in the country is there. It's called
Okay.
TJ, Thomas Jefferson High School.
Mhm.
It's very into STEM. And actually, it was created in the late 80s. And right now, the kind of climate there is, you wouldn't possibly get such a school. But right now, it exists. And it's a magnet school.
Mhm.
And everyone wants to go there. But there is an interesting thing I learned. If you go there, you have a less chance to get into a good college than if you didn't go there. Why?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, the reason is everyone is so bright. Unless you graduate at like the very top of that class, you're actually kind
You're
of
like,
graduating in the
they're like,
middle.
you went
who
there
wants
and you didn't
yeah.
graduate at the top, so you're not worthy of getting in.
Yeah. So basically, if you are not actually, not that you're not bright, but you don't want to apply yourself, don't go there. Graduate at the top of somewhere else, and you're sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
That's
See, I did
actually-
it the other way. I just played at the bottom. So then everything I did after that looked amazing.
Well, that is an idea. Maybe.
So I actually lived in Virginia as well. I think we talked about that last night. I was in Norfolk, Virginia, Virginia Beach. And they were known for, that's where I went to middle and high school. And they were known for decent education.
Mhm.
And I hated it. I couldn't stand it. But what kid loves
Me.
educate? Okay. All right. I think we knew right away you were unique and interesting, though. But I felt like it was just so cookie cutter. I mean, it wasn't that I didn't understand.
Mhm.
I had it all. I was like, let's do something else. And then I started running businesses. I was like 17, running a restaurant. I was like, what do I need this for? So
Well, actually, if you're
Something
running
like
a
that.
business at 17, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't.
so I ended up dropping out. I somehow have a master's degree, but I dropped out of 2 high schools along the way.
Well,
It's
look at the
interesting, though.
Google guys at Facebook guys. I mean,
Yeah,
know.
right. Similar
I
stories.
think the education isn't all that's cracked up to be, especially these days.
But at that same token, like we decided to have kids in New York City because of the opportunities for education, because there were so many different types of schools here available. And you never know what your kids are going to be like. They're not necessarily be like you and approach information the way that you do. So like my wife and I both, bright people. We have good cognition and everything. We did, fine in terms of My wife was like a model student, you know, and she's a teacher now. But you just never know how your kids are going to take information on. And so for us, having children here and raising them here, where we had the access at least to like whatever may come down the pipe, because you just don't know. Now our kids have been relatively normal, fortunately, but it's still great to just have that available to them. Like the middle school that my daughter goes to is it's an outward bound school, and my wife teaches at a consortium school, so they just do things completely differently. So at least they know the availability of these other approaches, and not like my wife grew up upstate, and I went to school in Virginia, and there were no other options. It was like one private school you could choose to go to, but the formats and the approaches weren't, there's no diversity in it. So it's pretty limiting. So I really like the spread that's here, even though we haven't had to utilize it, but everybody's aware of it. And it's fascinating the way I think like city kids grow up now, and what they're aware of and what the educational system folds into it. Not all of them do it, but there's so many diverse schools, even in middle school. It's like, I don't know what it's like where you're at, but here you have to apply to middle school, and it's like,
you need to apply?
Yeah, it's like trying to get into college. I mean, these kids like crying because they didn't get into the middle school that they wanted to, and there's specialized middle schools for science and for art and for performance, and yeah. I mean, it's not like it's some neighborhoods, I guess it's still this way, but for the most part, it's not like you go, you finish 5th grade in elementary school and then you're just going to go to like the local middle school. There might be a middle school in your neighborhood, but it's a lottery to get in. It might be down the street from your house, but you're guaranteed nothing. Your kid might have to go, they might have to take a train like 45 minutes away, an hour away, because that's the middle school that they got into.
But
it's kind of crazy.
Cool in a way, because it actually takes off the pressure from living where you are, and you can actually get into it.
Yeah, exactly. I think in elementary, people are more focused on like you go to the local school and you buy maybe a house or move to a neighborhood for that specific thing. But then after that, it doesn't matter. But that pressure is replaced just by you trying to get your kid into some damn school that you don't know. They're kids. It's like what's all the hype about? You're trying to get your kid into some art school. Like, they might not be an artist. It might be something that they like right now. So it's also like it's a trade-off in pressure. It's kind of crazy.
But I guess the pressure now is not on the kids instead of you.
Both. Yeah. I mean, I didn't take it too seriously.
So when it's like you need to afford the house in a good neighborhood, but this is the kids need to afford to go to the school you want them to.
And you're asking them like, what do you want to do with yourself, like pretty early on, which is kind of crazy. But I think it's a good experience. It's good for them to see, especially if these are going to be like, if this is going to be a generation of aspiring entrepreneurs. They gotta learn to toughen up and make some hard decisions and just like take some chances and stuff like that. So in that way, it's interesting. I kind of like that. It's wild, but that, these are the reasons we decided to live here, not, some suburb somewhere in America where, you just more sense of normalcy. It's always like agitated. It's why I own a restaurant. It's just like, I don't know if you were listening when we were talking about it last night, but it was like being attracted to chaos.
Yes,
but only
you're making to make order.
Only to make order out of it. And it's like, I just need such a heavy dose of that on a regular basis. Just for,
Well, it's actually a good thing that she started at 17. Because, I was, are you following the recent research on Gallup, the Gallup released?
No.
So if you do not get kids interested by 17, or even better by 5th grade, they're not going to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be a tough slap to actually get them to have that,
Right. Sure.
outset. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet. Well, I'm getting firsthand experience with my older two.
How old are they?
12 and 9, and they both have birthdays coming up, and like, they're into it. They're just like, they're like wearing the t-shirt already. They love it. It's great.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. My oldest is 12, so
nice. So the struggles. All right, we're gonna take a little break. We'll be back in a few. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web.